Good morning. Welcome to Business 360, where business, markets, and the economy come into full view. I'm Margaux Salcedo, and this is the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Exports jumped to record high, keeping the country's trade deficit at a 4-month low in June. The national government's total outstanding debt tops 19 trillion as of end June amid higher domestic and external borrowings. And the ICTSI has locked in a deal that will allow it to operate its largest container terminal in Manila through 2063. Philippine exports reached a record high of $8.8 billion in June, up 24.1% from a year ago. The growth was driven by strong global demand for semiconductors, the country's top export, as investments in artificial intelligence continued to rise. Exports to the United States, the Philippines' largest export market, also surged 44.7%. Despite the record exports, the country still posed a $4.9 billion trade deficit as imports remained higher than exports. However, the June trade deficit was the smallest since February, signaling an improvement in the country's trade balance. The national government's outstanding debt hit a record 19.07 trillion pesos at the end of June. Latest data from the Bureau of the Treasury show the debt stock rose 10.4% from a year ago. It also surpassed the government's full year 2026 target 6 months ahead of schedule. The Treasury says both domestic and external borrowings pushed debt higher as the government financed its development programs and budget deficit. Despite the higher debt level, the government says it continues to favor domestic borrowing to limit foreign exchange risks. Most Philippine banks are expected to keep lending standards unchanged in the third quarter based on the latest survey by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The BSP says this reflects the banking sector's stability and its ability to support economic growth through lending, despite continuing uncertainty from the conflict in the Middle East. Most banks expect no change in lending standards for both business and household loans, while fewer expect to tighten credit. At the same time, banks also expect demand for both business and household loans to increase. The peso fell on Thursday amid renewed tensions in the Middle East. This ends the local currency's 3-day rally from a record low last week. The peso closed at 61 pesos and 56 centavos against the US dollar, as fresh military strikes between the US and Iran raised geopolitical tensions and pushed global oil prices higher. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll speak with PhilExport President Sergio Ortiz Luis Jr. Stay tuned. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Margaux Salcedo. President Marcos laid out key economic measures in his State of the Nation address that could shape the future of businesses, exports, and employment. To discuss the business sector's perspective, Sergio Ortiz Luis Jr. joins us via Zoom. He is the president of the Philippine Exports Confederation and Employers Confederation of the Philippines. Thank you for joining us today, sir. And of course, you are also Chairman Emeritus of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Yusek Margaux.
Good morning.
Nice to be here again.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. Of course, everybody is talking about the State of the Nation address delivered last Monday. President Marcos highlighted export growth, foreign investments, and ease of doing business as key economic priorities. From the perspective of exporters and employers, what parts of his agenda could have the biggest impact on business growth?
Well, of course, the incentives and what we were expecting, yung EPIRA is one that is very popular, and then one common agenda of the labor and the business sector that we signed together, the raising of the exemption of the 350,000 income of the workers, that is very popular. Although there are a lot of things that were given, which will lose income for the government, and a lot of assistance that will be given. Our worry is, can our fiscal situation carry these commitments?
By losing income for the government, sir, do you mean the tax reforms that were suggested by the president?
Well, among others, some of the tax reports, I think, are given. We wanted that, but there's a lot that came in, and even the suspension of the excise tax and things like that, which we know that there's big debate. It was not implemented, and all of a sudden they are now going to be implemented all at the same time. So we're a little bit worried, considering, as I heard you earlier say the news that we owe already 19 trillion, and we're paying something like 1 trillion a year in, I hope that we are not going to borrow much more to
Yung,
support these commitments.
yung isa pong pinalakpakan during the SONA was the item that the president mentioned on system loss. Could you comment on that po? And yung sa EPIRA law?
The EPIRA law, well, that was long coming. I think for several years, it's going back and forth that at the very least, we do not want this systems loss to be charged to consumer. And that is a long-awaited, but that's not going to cost the government anything, so that's not a worry for us.
The president also cited continued growth in Philippine exports. And in fact, he also highlighted the 23 free trade agreements. What do you think will be the impact of this? And if ever, what challenges must the government address to sustain and expand export growth?
Well, we have a big problem in our economy, and one of the bright spots now is the export. That in spite of the high inflation, the low investment, the low tourism, we very pleasant surprise is that export has been growing since last year, despite Trump's reciprocal tariff. No, we are now a bit worried about the 12.5% that he is going to implement. We don't know how he will implement it, but I hope it's something that we can remedy also.
I understand from the proclamation on the 12.5% tariff that this is because of suspicions of unfair labor practices. But we had Trade Secretary Cristina Roque here just a couple of days ago, and she clarified that as a matter of fact, we don't do that. So from your standpoint, sir, should that tariff be imposed by the United States, or should it be lower, or maybe even zero?
Well, you know that the reciprocal tariff of President Trump was reversed by their Supreme Court, no? So he just found a way, a pretext to be able to come back with vengeance and use tariff again as a tool, and it's very weird that we are being included in the list of those with forced labor. Although what he said, what they're saying is that it is not that we are using forced labor here, but we are buying from countries products that are produced of forced labor, and basically I think they're referring to China. So it's a way to contain China also. So, and I don't know, the weird part about it also is that when it's being announced, we are also announcing the Pax Silica with the at the same time. So being offering displays for Pax Silica to US, and at the same time US hitting us with a forced tariff on forced labor.
Ginagamit po nila sa tingin niyo po for negotiations? Para i-implement po natin itong Pax Silica, mapirmahan na po this coming November, you think? Di naman po siguro.
Pax Silica, I think, is still a long way, no? In theory, it's good, but I don't know if it's going to happen that easy. I think we are also saying that what they want is that the laws of the U.S. will prevail on that area. We are insisting no. But if it becomes a deal breaker later on, and they say, well, there's so much advantage, they will have to agree. We don't want to do that, no, because it might be converted into a military facility that we have nothing to do with, and all of a sudden we're hosting a military base.
For that we might be producing parts for military equipment. However, I think the BCDA has also always been saying that this is a great opportunity for investment, citing that it could generate 40 to 70 billion US dollars in investments for us. However, there were opposition to this, citing environmental concerns. What is the stand po of ECOP on this?
Well, we of course, all the jobs that will be generated, I don't know. We have to see the list, you know, because I know that data centers require less people than normal, no? So I don't know how many jobs will really be created, because I visited place data centers in China, for instance, where they have hundreds of people, they have only about 5 people, no? So I don't know where the jobs will be generated. Is it to produce the water, or or the power to produce it? Will it be nuclear? I don't know. We have to see the
Study.
plans. You know,
Yes
it's
po.
easier to say that we will have the water, we have the electricity, but we don't really, and we will have this much job, but we don't see numbers. We don't. We're just being told different numbers by different people, but we don't see the computation or the list of what are really the jobs that will be created. We also know that it's supposed to be joined in by big companies, but so far we are only hearing one that is really committed. The others, I think, are just watching and seeing, and we're afraid that at the end of the day, they might see it really as something that will be operated like a base, like what we had before, and that might be a deal breaker if we say that it will have to be under Philippine laws.
So for you po, yes or no to Pax Silica?
If there is enough data that will be given that we can analyze and see, then it's worth looking at. But at the moment, there's so many ifs.
Okay, and we just concluded the State of the Nation address. Once again, sa inyo po, sir, what is the state of the economy today?
It's really bad. I mean, the inflation is high. This is so servicing is very high, and tourism is down, although it's increasing, but no, not in the same degree as our neighbors. Our investment also is we're last choice now at the moment, number 6, I think, when we were number 1, number 2. But as again, the bright spot now is export, and I hope we look at it more carefully and invest on it, not look at it as an expense.
And as our last question, sir, the administration has been promoting digitalization and ease of doing business reforms. For you, sir, what are the other things that we can do to entice foreign investors to come back to this country and to invest in the Philippines and to uplift our economy?
Well, you know, ease of doing business through ARTA has done a lot, no? Still has a lot to go, but I think people recognize, even investors recognize that we're doing a lot of things to make ease of doing business. But the big problem really is the on lack of confidence, is the scandals that was created, and the perception is that rather than being solved, that it is even increasing, and there's too many doors being opened. We hope that we can concentrate on the source of the scandal, which was really the budget of 2025, which was really misused, no worse budget, I understand. We are not solving that. We're spending too much time in politics. So I hope that we can concentrate. The president says so, and I hope he can be helped by the legislature so that we can be, last year there were 52 bills that were passed on by LEDAC. I think only two became law, although there's claim that many of them are in the process of being, I hope they can concentrate, no?
It's hard to concentrate because there's the impeachment trial going on. So there are a lot of items on the LEDAC that are being neglected. Speaking of that, sir, what do you think should be the top priorities in terms of laws for our economy?
Well, there is a lot of law in the communication area, in the transport area, and even there's a list of laws that LIDAC had passed on, and I think many of them were endorsed by the about 20 of them, I think more than 20, passed on by the lower house, but it's not acted on by the Senate. Unfortunately, the Senate is the one that is busy now with the impeachment, so I don't know how they can do that. The president's only 2 years, and I don't know how many laws can be passed on in the time.
And we only have 2 years left. As you mentioned, sir, what is the one thing that our government should focus on to be able to help us get out of just the 3.5 to 4.5% GDP, but actually get back on track to high growth rate?
I think investment is the name of the game, to attract real investment and to gain confidence of the investing community for us, so that investment will flow in again.
Thank you very much for sharing your insights, Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis Jr. of Phil Export and ECOP and Chairman Emeritus of the PCCI. More stories when we return.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. More stories when we return. Don't go away. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Margaux Salcedo. The Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation is reporting a sharp drop in its 2026 first half earnings. First half net profit plunged more than 85% to 1.58 billion pesos. Gaming revenue, PAGCOR's main source of income, also declined, with the electronic gaming segment posting the biggest drop. PAGCOR says the earnings decline was driven by lower gaming revenues and higher mandatory remittances to the Philippine Sports Commission following a Supreme Court ruling. Global port giant ICTSI has secured an extension to operate in Manila Port for another 25 years. Tarazon-led port operator disclosed the agreement with the Philippine Ports Authority, extending its concession of the Manila International Container Terminal until the year 2063, originally set to expire by 2038. This comes as the MICT posted a record year in 2025, handling 3 million 20-foot equivalent units, the highest volume in the terminal's history. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. approves the EVIS program to attract electric vehicles investments in the Philippines. Under Executive Order 121, the electric vehicle incentive strategy offers fiscal incentives in the form of investment support, production volume incentives, and tax payment certificates for EV manufacturers. The EO states that the program will enable the country to capitalize on market opportunities arising from the global transition to electric mobility as well as strengthening our manufacturing base, energy security, and environmental objectives. The Department of Trade and Industry is on track to get 3 more free trade agreements before the year ends. Trade Secretary Cristina Roque says that FTAs with the European Union, Canada, as well as an updated partnership with Japan are well on track. If achieved, this would leave the country with 5 new and updated trade pacts for the year after securing an FTA with the UAE in January and with Chile just last week. The Management Association of the Philippines throws its support behind the Pax Silica initiative with one key condition, that Filipinos should receive the greatest long-term benefit. In a statement, the business group emphasized that any pursuit of Pax Silica should prioritize national interest and make it a platform for national development. The association adds that the government should ensure it contributes to domestic industrial capabilities instead of merely serving as a location for mineral extraction, assembly, or other low-value added activities. The statement comes amid growing criticism of the project from concerns of protecting the country's environment and sovereignty. And that's Business 360. I'm Margaux Salcedo. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.